Welcome back, everyone, to our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. As usual, I am your host, Shad Dales. Before we get into today's podcast, a quick reminder that Dutchie is the company that powers cannabis retail across the U.S. From point of sale to e-commerce to payments, they help dispensaries run smarter every day. So a big thank you going out to Dutchie. And if you want to learn more, visit business.dutchie.com. All right, lots going on this week, and a lot went down in the Lone Star State, including Governor Greg Abbott, who just did something big. After 3 failed attempts by the legislature to ban THC products, Abbott bypassed lawmakers altogether. Instead of waiting on another messy vote, he used his executive order to roll out new rules on hemp-derived THC. So what does this mean for businesses, consumers, and the future of hemp in Texas? Well, let's break it all down at our latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. Here we go. To ban hemp-derived THC, 3 times this year alone, the legislature attempted to pass a ban, and 3 times it failed. Those debates got so heated they turned into what some reporters called a circus of reefer madness, driven by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's hard-line stance. Abbott, for his part, had already vetoed a total ban earlier this year. Why? Because an outright ban would have crushed thousands of jobs. Hemp in Texas is no small business. We're talking about an industry with an estimated 8,000 retailers selling everything from gummies to infused beverages. So with the bans now off the table, Abbott went for a different approach. Earlier this week, as the second special legislative session wrapped up, he issued Executive Order 56. That order doesn't ban hemp outright. Instead, it sets up a framework to regulate it more like alcohol and tobacco. And this is where things get interesting. So what's exactly in Abbott's order? Let's break it down. What changes could actually happen immediately and what will come through rulemaking. So let's look at this further. Executive Order 56 directs 2 agencies, the Department of State Health Services, or DSHS, and the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, or TABC, to start writing new hemp regulations. So here's what's on the table. First up, age restrictions. Sales of hemp-derived THC products will be limited to those 21 and older. Retailers must check IDs, and if they fail, they risk losing their license. Then you have testing and labeling. Products will need to be tested more rigorously, with labels listing total THC, including THC that could be activated from precursors like THCa. Labels may also need serving sizes, warnings, and potency details. These are all good things. Then you have THC limits. Instead of regulating by percentage of weight, THC will be capped in milligrams per serving. So that matters because it directly impacts both gummies and beverages. Then we also have to factor in compliance costs. Higher licensing fees, stricter testing, and more detailed record keeping will raise the cost of doing business. Also, something to look at is enforcement. Agencies will ramp up compliance checks. Retailers who don't follow the rules, especially if they sell to minors, could lose their licenses. And that, again, is common sense. So Abbott summed it up this way on social media. Hemp should not be sold to our kids. Safety for kids, freedom for adults. End quote. So that's the governor's framing. Protect minors, but don't take products away from adults. Now, really, anytime the rules shift, there's obviously going to be winners and losers. So let's talk about what comes ahead and who takes the biggest hit under this new system. First, let's now focus on the winners. So for companies making hemp-derived beverages and edibles, this actually is good news for you. The order doesn't ban their product outright, and by shifting to milligram limits, the market for gummies, seltzers, and other infused products looks relatively secure. It's also a win for larger operators who can handle the added compliance costs. Bigger companies often prefer regulation because it weeds out smaller companies who can't keep up. So yes, it's a cultural fight, but it's also an economic one. Or as one smoke shop owner told the Texas Tribune this week, all these politicians assume it's a bunch of liberal hippies, when no, bro, it's rednecks smoking weed. So as I said earlier, this is an executive order. And of course, signing an order is just the first step. Now the real work begins. It's the rule-making process. And this is where things get more technical, and let's face it, it's much more important. Abbott's order doesn't create every detail. Instead, it tells the DSHS and the TABC to go through the notice and comment process. So what that means is draft rules are going to be published, the public can then weigh in, and final rules are adopted after feedback. So based off of that, here's what you could expect. One, there's rulemaking agencies. They will define how age verification must work, what exactly must appear on labels, and what testing standards then apply. Then you have to look at revising existing rules. Current regulations will be reviewed, some will be strengthened, others possibly rewritten, like how THC is measured, how records are kept, and what fees businesses actually must pay. Then you've got enforcement compliance checks, and they will increase. Retailers will need to prove they're following the rules or risk penalties and license loss. All this now brings us to framework study. Agencies will also study long-term regulatory models. They could borrow ideas from House Bill 309, a bill that proposed even tougher hemp laws earlier this year. So a lot of moving parts here and a lot of work that needs to be done. So what's the timeline in all this? Well, first up, immediate rules. No sales to minors and mandatory ID checks. Short term, you got draft rules published and open for comment. Medium term, finalized rules, stepped up enforcement. And then longer term, the legislature could pass new statutes to lock in or expand the framework. Hope that all makes sense. Because in short, the order sets the direction, but the full system will take months, maybe even longer to roll out. We know how politics work. So really, what does this all mean for the hemp industry in Texas, and what should we expect going forward? Well, here's what. The big picture is after months of uncertainty, Texas hemp companies know where they stand now. Lawmakers tried 3 times to ban hemp-derived THC. All 3 efforts, they failed. Instead, Abbott used his executive authority to regulate and not ban, so that's key. That's a relief for thousands of businesses selling gummies, drinks, and edibles. But the end of the line for THCa flower and many of these smoke shops that depended on it, again, over. So for consumers, the rules mean age checks, clearer labels, and safer products, but also fewer options at the counter. For businesses, it means higher compliance costs and stricter oversight. So when you zoom out, this is also a reminder. Texas never voted to legalize these products. They slipped in through the 2018 Farm Bill, and state leaders are now trying to put guardrails around an industry that exploded overnight. So for now, it's business as usual for hemp-derived products in Texas, but with more regulation, more scrutiny, and more uncertainty about what comes next when the Farm Bill actually is rewritten. So that's it for our latest TDR Cannabis in 5. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to give it a like, smash on that bell for all notifications, and subscribe. We'd appreciate it here at TDR. Busy week we just had here, everyone, so enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in the next video on the latest TDR Cannabis in 5 presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Thanks again for watching. So long, everyone.